you recognise the pond here, and that is the pond round which Jack Hargreaves walked his pony. And that takes me back a long time. I had to do a bit of detective work to find out where it was, but we're here, and it's almost exactly as it was when he was here. The gate's still there, the thatched cottage is still there. Maybe not so much the pond is, but look, on the pond we've got a little family of mallard, which is always nice to see. There we are. That's a lovely little cottage there, and I do like the clock set into the wall. Ashmore is actually the highest village in Dorset, about 720 feet, I think, not metres. I'll get that checked out. And that must be the strangest bus shelter I've seen in a long time. No regular bus service through here, I don't think, but certainly a school bus. And the bus that collects the wheelie bins seems to stop here too. Isn't that nice? As befits a lot of places, there's a nonconformist chapel opposite the Church of England, and actually this is High Street. Now, I don't know whether that is because it was the High Street as we know traditionally the centre of commerce, or whether it's simply because it was in a high place, being as this is the highest village in Dorset. That lovely cottage over there dates to 1809, and this is the old Church Farm cottage here. I think it suggests that this was once a much larger settlement, and there was a Romano-British settlement fairly close to here, and to the right of the village, or behind me, was there was an old Roman road passed through the parish. But we're now going to have a look at the parish church. Hopefully get this all done before it starts to rain again. No church, of course, would be complete without its yew trees. So pretty certain this is yew. It's not me, that's for sure, but look at this. What a lovely old tree, eh? Oh. Don't seem to be too many people buried around this part of the church. Trust Jackie. She's found the door.
There's a hinge and a latch on the outer part of it.
Yes, it just pointed out a hinge, the old latch on the outer part of it. Now, this may be the door that dates from 1500. I'll need to check up on that. I'm pretty certain that dates from 1500. This is the Church of St Nicholas, I think it is, at Ashmore. We'll just go round and have a look. It is indeed the Church of St Nicholas at Ashmore. Parts of it, particularly the chancel arch, are said to date back to the 13th century. Shame we can't go inside because there's an interesting 12th century font here with an elaborate wooden cover. The Victorians, I've come to the conclusion, had a thing about renovating churches, and apart from that odd 12th century bit,
This was renovated back in 1874.
Unfortunately, like so many, because of its rural location, unless it's time for a service, we can't go in. That's very sad. But you can see this lovely old arch here. Very nice. I will find out more information and bring it to you as and when I can. It's a shame I can't go inside, because it's one of those unusual places. Very difficult to tell in this weather whether they're stained glass or not. They certainly look like it. There are some elements of colour on the windows and in the quarterfoils up there, and the single bell on the top, right at the highest point, to summon the congregation to worship, which is typical of these sort of places. And you get a feeling of spaciousness here which probably didn't exist at one time. You just feel as though you're back 50 years ago, filming with Jack when you're walking around here. It's an honour to tread in his footsteps. But quite apart from that, it's a lovely place to come and see.
Jack spent his last days in the tiny hamlet of Belchalwell in his beloved Blackmoor Vale. But before we take a closer look at his house, we're going to have a look at the church and another building in the village, just to give you an idea of what it was like to live here and be part of the community.
Right, let's go take a look. We've got railings to help you up the hill. Whoa.
Get a taste for it when you get there.
Well, I'm hoping the wind isn't going to interfere too much with this. So this is the parish church of Belchalwell, with its square tower. This is an old church. You've got those gargoyle things on the windows there. This is probably one of the oldest churches I've been to. There's a sundial up there, and look at those gargoyles on top of the tower. I think my friends Pete and Susie would be quite interested in a place like this. And a number of gravestones which we'll have a look at later. I'm sure there's some ancient ones there, but look, look, look. Are we looking at a Norman church here? We must be, surely.
Could this be a decorated Norman arch? You certainly have one in here. I'm pretty sure that that arch is Norman. If it's not, it will be Frederick or Ronald. There we are. Not much light in here, but we get an idea. This door has no great age, I'm afraid. Sad to say.
I can still touch it.
We can still touch it. Yeah, I just have. Now Jackie has. Now we're looking at another one of these arches on the way out. The interesting thing about this church is the parish church is St Oldham's. But when it was built, although it might have been dedicated to somebody, there have been no parish records found as to whom it was dedicated. So it wasn't until about 1959 that it received its official dedication. I suppose it's indicative of the fact that there might have been once a larger settlement here. But again, is this one of those parishes where the button industry and things like that flourished and then died? So we're definitely looking here at 12th century, if not a little bit before. And from what I can gather, there's been a bit more renovation work done in maybe the 14th and 15th. I stand to be corrected on that, but I can't remember everything verbatim that I've learnt. But look at where it stands. Once again, one of those churches on a hillside.
Have a look at the outside of it as well.
Now, one good thing about having Jackie with me is that she can point out things that I've maybe missed or not quite researched, and she very, very rightly pointed out this hinge bracket here, and there's another one down below. You can see that there. Now, was there an ancient door of sorts here? There must have been. But also, very interestingly, here you have one of these side windows. Now, we know at a lot of places around here, from what Jack Hargreaves said, would be places where lepers, and there were several leper colonies in the area, although they couldn't come to the services, they could come to this side window here, and the priest would give them a blessing and also would hand out food. Is this one of those windows? The unfortunate thing is that when you come round the side, what was originally there has been completely obliterated by this restoration. They are stone blocks, probably done in the even as late as the 19th century, I would guess. They've kept the original parts of the wall at the base. This is a very, very stark contrast. Not sure I like it.
But there may have been another purpose to this window. And in this respect, I'm only hypothesising. Oh, I've got that word out in one. You'll probably have noticed inside the porch there was benches either side, and it would seem that in the past this church would have been in the hands of a rector, not a vicar. And the difference being that a vicar, I should say, would receive a stipend from the diocese. The rector, his wages were paid by the parish, and so the farmers and other people would come to the church and they'd sit in the porch ready to pay their tithes. Now, I'm wondering if this might have been perhaps a tithe window. It certainly wouldn't have been glazed originally, and if it wasn't a leper's window, and it is a bit unusual for one in that you can't see through the chancel or anything like that from it, could this have been a tithe window where if that gate that we think would have been in the porch where we saw the hinges, if that gate was shut for any reason,
Would people have had to come to the side window to hand their tithes over to the rector? Interesting. If anybody has got any knowledge about this window and its original purpose that's anything different to what I've been thinking, please do leave a polite comment, because I'm always glad to learn. You never stop learning, and I'm not too old or ashamed to accept mistakes, and I'm happy to admit them and learn from them.
Well, it's obviously our husband.
It's very strange, isn't it? This is very much an experiment. I'm not sure what you can see of this, but this is the best we can have looking inside the window. Very simple design inside. I wish I could get in there. But no stained glass. And through this window we can see the altar. I wonder why the glass isn't stained. That's an interesting one. The camera can just see a little bit through this open window. Yeah, crystallised salt too. This really was an exceptionally windy day. When Jack decided to move down into Blackmoor Vale, he bought this house here, Raven Cottage in Belchalwell. The optimist in me hoped that I might see somebody in the garden, and if I asked them very nicely, would they show me into the garage that I could see Jack's corner where he filmed his last lot of series from, but sadly was not to be, and this is really the best view I can get of Jack's final resting place, if you like, before he passed away. Resting place is a wrong word to use, I know, but you know what I mean. He was happy here, and these were his last footsteps, and I'm very humbled to be walking in them. There's his workshop on the left. Oh no,
Oh,
perhaps
bless him. Oh. Oh, whoops. Go on, girl. There you go then, he's waiting for you.
yeah,
birdie.
that's all right. He's got him in the field. When I took those photos in Tarrant Monkton about 18 months or so ago, I had no idea that they would lead me on a little pilgrimage which has now lasted for 4 videos. And I think it's time to call a halt, because these were all only ever meant to be a tribute to the late Jack Hargreaves, and I certainly do not want to be accused of jumping on his name's bandwagon, as it were. These have been my own humble tribute to the man who was my childhood hero in many ways, and it's been interesting finding out how things compared all those years ago when he was filming to what they are now. So we're here where his ashes were scattered at Bullbarrow, overlooking his beloved Blackmoor Vale, and I can't think of a more fitting place to end my own humble tribute to him. And I hope you've enjoyed the series. Thank you for watching.